And welcome everyone to our first episode of Make Our Podcast Grow, the Tokusatsu podcast that we'll be doing bi-weekly on Tuesdays. I am Rune, and my co-host here is Ben. Ben, say hi to everybody.
Hello, everybody. It's good to be here.
So this is our kind of flagship show for the Inner Geekdom. Actually, this is our first real show that we're going to be producing here, so that's pretty exciting. But yeah, we are a nerd-based company that's going to be talking about all sorts of things. But specifically with this one, we are talking about Tokusatsu. This is Make Our Podcast Grow, where we'll talk about Power Rangers, Super Sentai, Godzilla, Kamen Rider, Ultraman, anything of that assortment. We are here to talk to you guys about it, and that is quite exciting to me because it is something that I grew up with loving. Like, I am an OG Mighty Morphin Power Rangers guy and have dove into all sorts of different tokusatsu since then. Ben, what about you? I believe that you're pretty much the same boat as me with that, aren't you?
Oh, I am. I definitely am, dude. August 93 changed my life. It was my first fandom, and it has
Nice,
left its
nice.
mark in such a strong way. And only recently did I start seeing other tokusatsu from Kamen Rider and stuff like that. But over the past few years, I've been able to explore a lot more of it, and I love it. I love the cheesiness of it. I just love it. It's left its mark on me to the point that um, I wanted to be able to tell stories that impacted in ways that it impacted me, and so I absolutely love the genre, and I cannot wait to talk more about it, dude.
Yeah, I completely feel you on that one. And speaking of talking more about it and introducing it to more people than is already a fan of it, you're going to be you're going to be our game master over on Artificer Alley for the Power Ranger game that we're going to be doing. The Ghost
Y-
Space one that's going to be premiering here in a few weeks on the third of
Yes,
April.
yes, April 3rd.
April 3rd.
I'll be the game master on Artifice Rally's Twitch channel for tentatively called Power Rangers Phantasm. Um, we're still narrowing down that stuff in the final weeks, because we're bad at planning. But it's it's coming together. We got a great cast. We had our first meeting yesterday to really talk about their character creation ideas, and it's going to be a fun story. I'm really looking forward to diving into it, and I hope you guys join us. It's going to be fun.
Totally. All right, so starting things out, I figured that, I've got some news written down in my little book that I have here of things that we could discuss a little bit at first. Then
Mhm.
after we get done with that discussion, we're going to go into a fun little video of you telling us your top 5 favorite Power Ranger seasons of all time. And then at the very end, we are going to be reviewing the first 3 episodes of the new Super Sentai Boon Boonger. So we're going to have a fun discussion about that because we just got done watching episode 3, and
Mhm.
yeah, it's going to be interesting seeing what our thoughts on that are so far.
Mhm.
So, to start things off, though, we are going to talk about a little bit of Super Sentai news. All right, so starting us off, we are going to talk about the Power Rangers reboot. We found out recently that they are going to be having 1 hour long episodes, which is quite different than what we're used to with the typical 22, 23-minute episodes that we grew up with. So, Ben, what are your thoughts on extending to a format that is an hour instead of like 22 minutes?
I'm excited for it, and you and I've bounced ideas back and forth on it quite a bit. Um, I really want to see, I want to see what they do with it. Um, I do have some concerns, especially if they lean into the teenage drama tropes of an hour long series. Hopefully, those fears aren't warranted. Because I and nothing against anything in that genre or anything but people who like that style of storytelling. I'm not a fan of dramas or any dramatization of it, and so it's going to be interesting to see how they handle the reboot. An hour-long episode is definitely going to give us room for a lot more storytelling. I mean, if you're looking at Cosmic Fury, it was 10 episodes, 23, 25 minutes each. So
Yeah.
it was
They were a
so
little
if
short for me. I felt they needed to be longer to get some of those,
yeah,
because they were doing a lot of deeper themes with Cosmic Fury that they hadn't done in other seasons. It would have been nice to had a little more time to spend on some of those themes. Now, I definitely see what you mean though, that you kind of worry that they're going to make Riverdale with Power Rangers is the thing that we don't really want to see, because it still needs to be about Power Rangers. I think we talked about it the other day. The way that I see it is it needs to be something more similar to something like Cobra Kai, where yes, you're gonna have the high school drama, because if you're going back to the teenagers with attitude trope, that's just gonna be something that pops up with it. But let's solve all of our problems with karate. I don't know, like there's a way to be tongue in cheek with it to where it's not overly cheesy and also not too overly 90210.
yeah, like it's one thing about Power Rangers is that it was always been tongue in cheek. It didn't take itself too seriously, especially the series that I watched growing up anyway. And so, and you and I've talked about that before when we see some of these fan projects that lean so heavy into the more mature storytelling, and they sometimes forget the tongue in cheek aspect that
Yeah,
makes it human, that makes it humanly appealing. That that is a concern. I don't want to see that happen in the reboot.
yeah,
Um, it'll,
definitely.
it'll be it'll be interesting to see if them strike that happy medium of oh these are people too, tongue in cheek. Let's
Yeah,
build that pathos instead of just relying on plot point, plot
yeah,
point, plot point. So that's that. I'm really hoping the writers and the showrunners really look at what the series has succeeded at
yeah,
and just build on that in a proper format that gives us something new,
yeah.
but a hint of legacy to it.
Well, with having that hour long, you do have more time to go and flesh out like their high school lives and things like that, because you have to imagine like 60% of the episodes were typically just them doing the suits and the fighting and everything, with just like a sprinkling, just the smallest of sprinkling of like a plot that makes it make somewhat of sense. So,
Yeah,
having that little bit of time to spend more outside of the suits, or as they might say, beneath the helmet, which is the new book that is coming out from Renegade Games, the tabletop role-playing game that we will be playing on April
nice
3rd.
segue,
You like that
nice
segue? Was
play.
that it? Was that
That
was
was
that one good
nice.
for you?
That was nice. That was very tongue in cheek. Well done.
Oh, I do what I can. I do what I can. But yeah, we have a new book that is going to be coming out, which I have already I was a game master for this when I was still living in Orlando. And I
Mhm.
really enjoy this system. It is a fantastic system that I would say is great for people that are just getting into tabletop role playing games. And I can understand if the Power Rangers aesthetic might not fit for you, but this system, the Essence 20 system, also is what is ran for GI Joe, My Little Pony, Transformers. There's other things that you can play with this same system. So even if Power Rangers might not be your flavor, I still say Renegade Games has a fantastic system on their hands. But yeah, going into a book that's going to be more on the ground, uh going into the going into their high school lives, or day-to-day lives, not even necessarily high school. What do you think about a book that hits more on that?
That I'm very excited for it, dude. Like it should have been one of those things that was included in the core book. I get the aesthetic of wanting to be like, yes, we're Power Rangers, dive into the power, do the superhero thing. But what made Spider-Man so great was Peter Parker's struggle.
Yeah,
What makes Iron Man so great is Tony Stark's struggle, and that's what you're wanting to see, and you're wanting to see, like, especially if you're embracing this trope and playing in this world, the all this, you're wanting to embrace every facet of it, not just I'm a hero, hear me roar, and being able to really dive into life outside of literally from life outside the helmet, outside the call to saving the world. It's going to give more depth and more weight to the storytelling moments of being a ranger. and really getting to explore that a bit more. I'm excited to see what game masters do with it, and it can really create some incredible storytelling moments.
Now, did we already know what? Did they already say the new Rangers were going to be included with this one? Because it's been pretty common that they usually come with like 2 to 3, I believe, each book that comes out.
Yes, they have. Let me double check it real quick. I think Aqua.
I think that might have been
Uh,
one of them because I know that we
um,
already have one of the books you can be where you can go and look up different aliens. So you have the aliens from Aquitar already as a playable race in the game.
yeah. The because it's going to include because beneath the helmet series, it says here yeah, they'll content along with story ideas for teenagers with attitude, not merely Power Rangers. I'm gonna be including Dino Charge and Dino Thunder Rangers. That is awesome. Zords
Cool.
and equipment. Um, the new player options includes Aqua, Graphite, and Dark Ranger role options.
I'm curious at how those
So,
will play because we were recently looking at the purple one and it's an interesting but very odd play style. I definitely want to sit down and read it over a little bit and kind of figure out how it would even play, but
mhm,
it was definitely different than anything we've seen. So they're playing with the formula, and I do like
mhm.
that.
Yeah, I'm anxious to see what they pull off with the Dark Ranger option. That's going to be cool. I want to see what that looks like.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah,
that's
I
going to be
mean,
pretty cool.
so it's nice to see that we're still getting, books because you always worry with one of these systems that it's going to come out, it's going to be something that you're going to love, and it's just going to end up not getting any more support. Not saying that you need support from the company to continue playing a tabletop game, but getting those
Mhm.
official supplements sometimes are really, really nice.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah. And I mean, and not only getting those books, we also have some word from looks like the booksamillion.com that we are possibly going to be getting a Power Rangers novel as well. Now,
Yeah.
this is interesting. I don't think we've ever got a novel in the Power Rangers universe before, have we? Not to the best of my knowledge.
I don't know if it's books. Yeah, that we've had books and stuff. Powers. We're not including the comic books and stuff. Those
Right.
they
Yeah. Not like
in the
Boom
early
Studios comics. Yeah.
oh yeah, because like in the early '90s, they were pushing everything
Well,
Power
yeah,
Rangers
but
brand,
I mean like a book, not like a kid's kind
like a
of. Right.
novelization.
Yeah, I didn't think that we
Um,
had anything like that that I had seen.
um, not that I know of. Definitely could be wrong. If you guys find something on it, let us know.
Yeah,
We couldn't find anything,
not that I
but
know of.
yeah, and so it's interesting to see. It's definitely being, of course,
There's not a lot of
by
information on it.
there's not a lot of information like by the author. It literally just says by Hasbro Inc.
Yeah.
and
I mean,
and
I'm
it's
all for like a young adult Power Ranger novelization. I think I'm here for it, especially because you don't have to go exactly like the show. You could very well feed into like the dramatized like I don't know what they call it. It's not a podcast, but you know what I'm saying. Like that web
yeah,
series that they did, where you just listen to them, like
yeah. Like it's
a dramatized
like
reading, I guess.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
It's like like an audio drama.
yeah, it's an audio
But
drama. That's
like based on the description here, it says like this series will explore the origins of where the Power Rangers powers, as well as the origins of some of their greatest villains. Spotlighting an evil academy for villains, readers will learn the evolution of Rita Repulsa, Astronema, and more.
that sounds like
So
Wicked with Power Rangers.
kind of. That's
I'm here for
yeah.
that. I want to hear Rita Repulsa singing "Defying Gravity." Sign me up, man.
Like in the original voice, just that squealy,
Oh
swallowing it.
god, I would love that. That makes it that much better if we have Rita scratching out those high notes.
Dude, someone's going to AI that.
I
That's going
hope
to be
so.
horrible.
Please do.
That's going
Somebody
to be
that's better with
horrible.
technology than I. Go ahead.
That is going to be horrible.
Oh yeah, but
But
I'm enjoying that we're getting stuff like that though, because if you're like a Power Ranger fan back in the day, and even going into today, a lot of the times it felt like, oh, this is a series that is mostly just meant for like 8-year-olds and stuff. But yeah, like if you're a fan of the comics, you'll know that it's not like 90s grungy Marvel trying to be tough type of like dark, but it's darker than what you would expect for a normal like Power Rangers. Like it takes a story that you could still show like somebody probably 10, 11, 12 years old and it not be like offensive or anything, but it's something that's more Marvel-esque where the whole family could type of enjoy it. Though
Yeah,
I
like
feel like.
yeah. Oh yeah, I mean the comics when the story came out in the comics, dude, it made waves. Everyone knows that. Boom Studios made waves with their stories,
Yeah.
and still are. I mean, 8 years later, they're still turning heads, going, this is some awesome storytelling. It's been really good stuff. So I'm interested to see um, who they plugged in for this novelization. Like I want to know anything about the writers. I want to know if it's some of the same team, is it new people coming in to play with it?
Because you didn't
Like
say it was Boom Studios related to it, so it might not even be connected with that lore.
it might not be. So it's because it just says it's by Hasbro Inc. And so then from everything I can see, there's no information about the author yet.
Well,
And
because I
so,
know in the comic books, we know who the first Rangers were, because
Mhm.
they were related. If you're going back and read, I believe it's Power Rangers Unlimited, the one that has the Phantom Ranger in the past. You
Mhm.
get to meet them, and what's funny is they use the suits from the season that the White Ranger was from in the Sentai. Like they're like the OGs,
Yeah,
and it's interesting. I believe they even become the morphing masters in lore, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, they do. But
Yeah.
they do.
So
It's
it's kind of interesting that it's similar to how I feel with Amy Jo Johnson's current comic that is coming out, where like we
mhm.
have established Ranger lore, but they're kind of doing Elseworld stuff, like Amy Jo Johnson's comic book, where it's like the return of Kimberly, and like it just takes all of the lore that we've had ever since, like from her leaving on, and kind of throws it out the window and just gives a whole different perspective. I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like we already have good established lore, but we don't get Amy Jo very often doing stuff with the community, so at least we're getting something. We already have really good comic lore going on here. So how do you feel about it?
Well, I am personally not like I'm happy for any and all Power Rangers content,
Yeah.
but I would really like Power Rangers content to respect established canon.
Mhm.
And
Which is
but
already
I understand.
difficult with Power Rangers as is. Like you have us like doing a lot of the heavy lifting to link together the canon as it be sometimes. So
Well, it's even then, it's not so heavy as everyone knows the infamous Dear John letter, and what I'm saying,
yeah,
everyone knows
Kim,
it.
you don't get a whole new comic after that.
Like it's and there's a lot of other stuff surrounding the idea
Yeah.
of the return, and I say be respectful to the lore, knowing that we're about to do a fan led tabletop RPG story in the Power Rangers.
I
So
can include I can literally come up with a story that messes with the lore none. None.
right, same.
Easily.
Right. And so like it's know where you came from, know the story that people have fallen in love with. I It makes it come across more fan fiction than anything else.
It not only that, it also comes off kind of, I don't feel like doing the work to know what the lore was. I'm just gonna, because I would love to see what Kim becomes, because she doesn't end up with Tommy. They don't have a kid together. We know that. Like,
Yeah,
come on, that's very established lore at this point.
it is, and that's yeah, because we know JJ, Tommy and Kat's son,
Yeah,
it becomes the Green SPD Ranger. Like that's been established. Like it's a thing. I
exactly, and the
just
fans love it.
yeah, and I don't know. Like I know there was a lot of the fan base I could see was really upset when the return was announced.
A lot of feel it was distasteful because of the timing as well.
The timing and like there were rumors that talked about how Jason David Frank and had actually proposed the story to Amy Jo Johnson and to Saban.
Yeah,
And I don't want to dive into that really because all it is speculation and we don't know for it's true. I don't want to
very
churn
true.
that wheel, but it's worth noting that if that is true, if that's a thing, it knowing that a void had been left in the fandom and trying to fill it, appreciated. But I'd rather see that void like filled with respect to the story that's in place.
Absolutely.
And that's how I feel about it. But I'm also a stickler for, just do right by the story that's established if it's
Felt.
something that people do enjoy.
Very felt.
And so otherwise actually advertise it as, no, this is alternate universe. This is, I mean, if we can have alternate universe where evil Tommy took over everything, spoilers, then cool.
Yeah.
But it was established that
Right.
that was an alternate.
And that's the
Um,
thing is, yeah, she's acting like the Boom Studios comics aren't even there, even though when this is published under Boom Studios.
yeah, and that's how I feel about it, dude. Yeah, it's great. I want to see incredible stories told by incredible, female leads. I want to see all of that. I definitely do.
Yep.
And I think the impact of an incredible female lead, we saw it in Cosmic Fury. I think,
Yeah.
yeah,
We have some amazing female leads throughout Power Ranger history when you look.
yeah, yeah. Like I mean, and they were able to do it in the established canon and leave a permanent mark. I mean, Jen Scott's alone in Time
My
Force left such a
favorite
huge mark.
Pink Ranger of all time, old Jen Scott.
Yeah, yeah, and then yeah, seeing the new Red Ranger in Cosmic Fury just
Oh,
leave a mark.
she did a good job. As much as I could not stand her character when the series started, I did not like her at all. I will admit it. It is a stupid reason. It is a very stupid reason. I cannot stand shoulder pads, and they kept putting her in shoulder pads for so many of her news outfits. I know it's a stupid reason to dislike a character, but it's enough because I had to look at those awful, and they still put her. You know what they ended up doing? They added shoulder pads to the freaking costumes in Cosmic Fury. Like, I know it's
That's
stupid,
great.
man, but I can't stand the shoulder pads.
I get it. So overlooking the shoulder pads, Amelia Jones did a fantastic job leading her team, and it was good. Like in Hunter Tino's performance was great. Like they were able to turn established canon into their favor and left a mark to really, in my opinion, really crowned the ending of the series, as we know it.
As we know it, yeah.
So it was able to create within the established canon and leave their mark. And then here we have something like The Return that's like, oh, we're going to ignore that.
Right.
And here's this story. And it just, like I said, it just comes across as fan fiction to me.
Yeah.
And now, thing is, I love the idea of Olivia Hart.
Mhm.
And if Olivia ends up becoming canon, kind of like how Lord Draken did,
Yeah.
it'd be interesting to see Jenna Frank jump in that, because I know
cool.
that is.
It'd be cool.
Because I say that only
People are
because I
pushing
know
it. We don't know what her acting skills are or anything. It's very much and I understand people want to see it simply because of, who her dad is, and you really
Yes.
want to see it because we all miss him. And we do miss we miss our Tommy. We miss JDF like so much. But we don't know if she's a good actor. And I hate to be that type of a person, but I would almost rather, if we were going to do that character, to find someone that has the acting skills. Not saying that she doesn't. I would give her an audition just for that fact. But I feel like it's doing a disservice if we just kind of threw her on there simply because of that.
And I understand that completely. Like, I make the statement knowing I'm not saying I agree with that casting. I know a lot of the fandom is behind her in that aspect. I do know we will see her in Legend of the White Dragon.
Yes.
So
that might be a good audition tape.
Like it's going to be good. Like I'm anxious to see how it works, and so we'll see. Like, but that's how all of it just felt for me. Is the getting back to the return. It's just fan fiction.
Yeah.
And it's cool. Like, I mean, the people
Marketed
make a
as
living
such.
writing. Marketed as such. People make a living doing fan fiction, and I have no problem with fan fiction. Just know your product. And it's one thing to lean on being an OG Ranger and going, yep, because I'm an OG Ranger, this is this OG Ranger push for canon. And remember, Amy Jo Johnson was my first Pink Ranger. And at 4 years old, I was like, she is very pretty. I was one of those kids.
She was a lot of
And
people's first crush,
right?
you know.
Oh yeah. Well, I didn't know what crush was at 4. Like I was still
Right.
figuring it out. But
Um,
yeah,
but yeah,
and
so
so it
moving on from the books and everything, we got one non-Power Ranger related thing. I know that we're supposed to be talking all sorts of tokusatsu. It's just that's a lot
yes,
of what
thank
we
you.
end up getting. But we had a trailer for Ultraman Rising. Ultraman Rising, for anybody that's not a fan of the not already a fan of the Ultraman series, we've been getting some cool animated series over on Netflix. And if you're not already watching as well on YouTube, you can watch Ultraman Blazar that has an English
Mhm,
dub with Johnny Young Bosch doing it. But Ultraman Rising is a new animated series that is more akin to the OG, whereas the animated
mhm.
series they did prior to was more of a continuation with his son kind of thing. So you watched this with me. What are your thoughts on
Mhm.
Ultraman Rising?
Oh man. We got Ultraman raising spoilers. It's in the trailer,
It's in
so
the trailer. We're allowed to talk about anything that's in the
yeah.
trailer.
Oh yeah. Given a monster baby, that is interesting.
Little
And
Godzuki.
yeah, well, I mean, it's like, yeah, mama. It. This is a horrible comparison. Remember the Godzilla cartoon came out in 98, 99?
98, 99. That would have been the one that was based after the. Are you talking
The
about
the the
the one,
the, the movie the
the
one that was
Broderick
the
movie?
one movie. Yeah, it was a cartoon. It was based on the Broderick movie,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
movie
yeah.
that shall
I
not be
remember
named.
that.
Yeah, and like the Godzilla in that one was like imprinted on Nick Totopoulos,
Yeah.
and so Nick Totopoulos was basically Mama. It's the old that's the vibe it gives me, but they seem to be ready to deliver it in a more fun
Mhm.
uh plot point
It
because
does
the
not
God
look like deep cut Ultraman lore. This looks like here's a
yeah
fun kind of goofy one that would be probably a good jumping in point for like getting your kids into Ultraman. Because if you're
yeah
if you're just yeah if you're wanting to just get into like some real Ultraman stuff, go watch Ultraman Blazar. Like it's
yeah
really good. But if you're just wanting
absolutely
to introduce somebody, you're wanting something to throw on in the background, something you can watch with the kids. Cause I yeah, it looks like
yeah
Ultraman Rising is perfect for that.
oh yeah and we know like I mean Ultraman has such a history and so many eras of storytelling. Like let's see if I can pull it up here. Because I know the past decade plus, Ultraman has seen a major resurgence
It's because they
in
put
just
in
some
a lot more
incredible.
effort with their international marketing as opposed to like Super Sentai that is very much just trying to market to the Japanese audience.
Yes, and and the stories that they're telling now they seem to just they have more. They're doing more with it, and they're doing it. It's incredible. And I know, like I started watching it on Tokusatsu on Pluto TV, and so you'll see I've seen quite a few Ultraman series over the um, past few years because of it. And that was actually my first introduction to Ultraman was in 2022.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I mean, everyone had heard of Ultraman. I'd seen like references to Ultraman. I mean, I played Card Fight Vanguard for
yeah.
years, and there was literally a clan called Dimension Police that had like an Ultraman motif deck, and I
Mhm.
did not realize that's who it was.
Yeah.
And like it was straight. They had Ultraman. They even had like Mecha Suit Dimension Police, like dimensional robos. I was like, and it completely went over my head
Yeah.
because I was just like, wow,
It,
I need to turn.
I love the fact that they are doing a lot to try and have it where it's more friendly to an American audience because you're
Yeah.
not really getting that with Common Rider, even though in Common Rider Gates they 1000% should have. Like Toei or whoever has the rights, I'm not sure with Geats and everything. Dub that,
Hmm.
dub that now. That has such a mass appeal. The design, the story, that is the one. If you want to start getting an American audience into Common Rider, Common Rider Geats is the perfect one to do it with. Like Blazar, perfect one to do it with. Like heck, I would even say that King Odra, this whole last slate would be perfect to dub over and introduce an
Yeah.
American audience more to Tokusatsu. Like it was a
Mhm.
perfect middle ground because I know that the argument has always been, oh, this might be too Japanese for people. Look, we're engrossed in anime. You look on Netflix now, they have
Yeah.
so many dramas that are dubbed over of Asian speaking, countries and stuff. Their content, especially Korea, has tons of content on Netflix that they're dubbing over now. Why are we not getting that with more tokusatsu shows? Like Ultraman's figuring it out before any of the other ones do. Please follow that. Follow that lead. We need to see it.
Yeah. Like I'm like King Oger was another thing like you brought up. Like King Oger King Oger was the first Sentai I believe that was been announced like for a while
Yeah,
that did not have any background noise of going, how would this become, what would this be like as a Power Ranger series?
true.
To an American audience.
Well,
So
Dawn
being
Brothers
able,
though, there was no adapting that. There was no adapting that.
well, like, no, this is us having the knowledge that the Power Ranger series is ending with Cosmic Fury.
True. True.
That Adaptations is ending, and that they're wanting to do a full reboot, original reboot for the IP. So King Ogre hits, and what they decided to give us was almost an entire series of green screen with spandex that actually had armor plating,
Mhm.
and everyone was fantastic royalty and dramatic storytelling. Which I'm not I'm not a fan of drama,
But between
but
like this was like the Game of Thrones of Super Sentai. Like
yes, yeah, and
there
they
was like different because each ranger represented a different kingdom, so they weren't always on the same
yeah
team, and that's rare. They didn't team up. You didn't have that until episodes in.
yeah and then going so far as making the sixth ranger the narrator from the
I
beginning.
loved it. Jeremy
That
Brosier. I love him. He is so awesome.
and like it was they nailed it, and avoiding spoilers, everyone's even saying that it like they nailed some story beats that hadn't been hit like that since the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Source Sentai.
Mm.
And that's a big deal to
What about
say
Zero
that.
Ranger?
Yeah, yeah, like they nailed like that brotherly bonds thing that you hadn't
Yeah.
seen since Zeo Ranger, and it was like it's good. Like that's good. Like
Yeah,
so
it was a great season. It's what brought me back into watching Sentai. It was the first time in a long time that I'd actually kept up with it while it was coming out,
Mhm.
because I'm sorry, Dawn Brothers just I couldn't. It looks fun. I'm gonna go back and watch
It
it,
does,
but I
dude.
couldn't keep week to week with it. There's been a few seasons that haven't quite hit with me. Like Kira Major, I think was the last one I was really hyped on though.
I
But
got
yeah,
you.
so I'm glad that we're getting that, and that's what's great is because after this, after we have our next segment where you're going to be talking about your top 5 favorite Ranger seasons, we get to talk about the newest Super Sentai that is out, the
Yes.
Super Sentai Boom Boomja. So yeah, so that's gonna be fun.
I will call you out on this right now. If you want to do a live reaction watch of Don Brother, I will join you.
Ooh, maybe we'll see. We'll have to look at the legality of that.
I heard the cringe. I heard the cringe.
There's worse seasons that I'd have a hard time getting through than that. But yeah, I was not a big fan of that design. But yeah, so
I get it.
let's
I
go
get it.
over to let's see if we've got this even pulled up correctly. All right, we're gonna have to pull that down first because we're not starting with that. All right,
Nice.
we are going to be starting with your top 5 favorite Power Ranger seasons. So
Hmm.
yep. So this will be Ben's top 5, not mine. We'll do mine probably the next time unless we have a guest on. So, yeah,
Okay.
why don't you tell us right off the bat what your number 5 favorite Power Ranger season is?
Well, before the fan base, straight up, crucifies me on this, number 5 for me was Cosmic Fury.
So you got Cosmic Fury as number 5.
Yeah.
Why?
Eh,
Why this one? This one's a bit controversial because I think
yeah.
for one reason it's unfairly controversial because everyone almost always ends up hating on the most recent season. It's not as good as it should have been, so on and so forth. Why do you like this one so
It,
much?
the reason I like it so much is one, it gave so many callbacks to
Did.
the established lore. We got to see Eltar.
We got the
We got
Dark
to
Ranger.
see Yeah, we got to see finally got to see Dino Charge Dark Ranger. It was able to make so much stuff um, established canon on the screen that everyone had been hoping for a while. And I liked how the powers were interesting. I mean, seeing it, like, spoilers if you haven't seen it, um, seeing a team scrounge around to try to recover powers and have their powers like piecemealed thanks to Billy Cranston's return, um, and then having a set of Zords that are not like power themed,
My Q
but
Ranger
they
Zords.
right
I love
like
those Zords.
and people have legitimate complaints about them not leaning into like the source material suits and stuff
I
like that.
know. It makes me sad a little bit.
And I kind of get it. We seen like the suits ended up looking okay
Except for the
on
shoulder
screen.
pads.
Yeah, you and shoulder pads though.
I hate
That's a
them,
you
man.
thing.
This ain't the 80s.
Yeah, I know, but what they were able to do with it, and with their 10 episode deadline, was give so much shout out to establish things that hadn't been seen. I am so happy to see David Yost return
Oh,
after what
same,
happened with him
same.
in Zico's. Blue Ranger was OG Blue Ranger was one of my favorite Rangers.
For sure.
Like, I identified with Billy as a nerd before I realized I was a nerd,
Yeah.
and it was fun. Like, it was fun to see Billy return in charge
Yeah.
and mentor a team from a place of compassion and experience. And it that was Billy was what was the defining thing for me. Um, but watching Amelia take the mantle of Red Ranger and see the team rally behind her, and watching her lead them through an impossible challenge of their Earth is being invaded and the Rangers have to teleport randomly away from the galaxy
Yeah.
and find their way back. And they have no powers, no Zords, no nada. And it was a big deal. It's a
Yeah.
huge deal.
I
So
I enjoyed it. I thought it was definitely a good, it was a good bow on top. And of course, coming off of the 2 seasons of Dino, I enjoyed that, those seasons, of course. We got our first like openly lesbian couple, which was such a big deal
oh
in the
yeah,
Power Rangers community. And we actually got to
yeah,
see a little bit of a struggle with their relationship in Cosmic, which I thought was really good. It's not just oh, everything's perfect all the time. It's like, no, she was
hmm,
a little bit too overprotective with that, and I thought that was really good storytelling without it being too pandering and stuff. It was good.
yeah,
I enjoyed it. You got your darker themes, a ranger losing his arm and the struggles of
yeah.
that disability. As someone that that is disabled from the military, I definitely identified with that story in a lot of ways of him, not
Mm,
being able to do the things that were so important to him with like playing guitar and instruments and things like that. It's a very
yeah.
relatable to someone like me. So that definitely was something
Mhm.
I really enjoyed about the season.
Yeah, like they nailed the human beats
Hmm.
very, very well. And that was like we're talking about, like, no, beneath the helmet, they really nailed that
Yeah, they did.
because that ended up being the driving force for them to put their helmet on and make it back to Earth. It was all their human beats that did that.
Exactly.
It wasn't just the call to action, and so that was really cool. It was really cool to see these Rangers so humanized
Mhm.
and so driving forward to protect what they cared about.
Oh
It
yeah.
was good.
So let's go on to your number four. And number four for you, what do we got, Ben?
Oh Lord, I don't remember.
It'd be a
Dino
Dino
Charge, Dino
Charge.
Supercharge.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
you grouped them together. We'll allow it. We'll allow it.
I did because Dino Charge laid the foundation for Supercharge, and so they are. I mean, yeah, look at all those Rangers in that
There's so
image.
many
Like,
Rangers in one season. Like that's
and
is it more or less than Q Ranger? I cannot remember.
it's less actually because Q Ranger
Less.
had 12,
Yeah, they
right?
did.
12 or
That was a
13.
lot.
Because that picture is actually missing one Ranger.
Yeah.
So Yeah,
What
like
was it about this season that really drew you in though? Because
they
I
really
enjoyed it, but I had issues with the ending was my biggest complaint with it.
the ending of Charge or Supercharge.
I think Supercharge, yeah.
I get that. I get the ending being an issue. What drove like they really leaned into the high fantasy aspect
Yeah.
of their power source, and the fact that we were suddenly saying, "Oh yeah, there's the sixth. Oh
Yeah.
wait, there's a seventh. There's an eighth," and then when because you've seen the 10 Dino Gems like in the first episode, and you're like, "Okay, cool. You're going to lean into the trope of them having excess Zords, no problem."
Right.
Into them now going, oh, there are 10 Rangers. And even looking in Cosmic Fury, because the Dark Ranger made an appearance, 11.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's it was the first series that I know of in the Power Rangers lore that actually expanded a team that big.
Oh yeah. I'm
And
pretty sure it
and
was the biggest.
and they for me they nailed it. They nailed the characterization of everybody.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I had the privilege of email. I was emailing Yoshi Zadarso to try to get him on some of our streams, and seeing how he was able to play Coda,
Yeah.
um, a caveman who was having to now live in modern world as a Blue Ranger, um, right beside Chase, the Black Ranger, who was he's just a skater boy. Avril Lavigne would love that. And he didn't take things too seriously. Had fun, even in combat. That's what he did. And then then seeing Shelby find the pink inner gem, and then you see Tyler and Riley, the Green Ranger. All of them just coming in out of nowhere, being called in for a purpose, a higher
Right.
calling, and then getting to meet Keeper. And then, of course, the Gold Ranger, Ivan, dude, like he is a knight from 800 years ago, and he comes in showing like bringing so much to the table that he's like, I was a badass before I had my ranger powers. Now what are you going to do?
Right. I
And
definitely think it's a good season to start people on as well. If they're just
it
getting
is.
into
Yeah,
Sentai, it's probably one of the better introductory seasons.
it really is. It really is. If you're getting into, if you're wanting to see a Power Rangers series, I would highly recommend Dino Charge and Supercharge as an
Yeah.
introduction
Pretty well
because
rounded.
in
Like I
Super,
said, just the ending bothers me. Timey-wimey type of
yeah,
stuff is always kind of shaky for me.
it is. It is, and they acknowledge that like in later seasons, saying that it is an alternate dimension,
Yeah,
and
they had
so
to because they would have messed with the timeline so much.
absolutely. And so like that the big thing, the final piece of this was a worldwide threat, invasion across the planet, and they have 4 megazords going to town in
Yeah.
different parts of the world fighting this thing. I was like, a team with 4 megazords is intense, and as a big robot nerd, I'm here for it.
Oh yeah, we love our mecha here. So moving on to your number three. Do you remember what you had for your number three?
Yeah, Zeo.
Zeo.
Controversially, yeah, Zeo. Um, because I was a early, again, like I was there in August of '93 when Power Rangers first aired on TV, and
Same,
we,
same.
yeah, dude, I remember them announcing Zeo and seeing the end of Mighty Morphin and watching the shift in Zeo, seeing Tommy finally become a Red Ranger and all that stuff. Um, Zeo was really the first series. If you watch it, um, they try to explore more beneath the helmet.
Yeah, yeah,
They
that's
and
definitely
you
true.
see that, and of course it has a lot of flaws because they were still trying to figure out the formula. They were trying to recover from a viewership drop from Mighty Morphin. Um, um, Tanya Sloan is a fantastic Yellow Ranger.
Yeah, she is.
Um,
I've met her a few
but
times in person. Pretty
that's
cool.
cool.
Yeah,
Um, the characterization of her being a child suddenly turned into a teenager and no adjustment period.
yeah.
That was
It's
like
got
I
its
would have
flaws.
loved. It does, and seeing Tanya come into her own though was really good.
Yeah,
Um, seeing Kat take up a mantle without any um without being in Kimberly Hart's shadow was really good. That was fun to see her come into her own.
Well, and you got the
But
return of Jason Lee Scott as well.
yeah, the Hail Mary to try to save their ratings.
Yeah.
He
You mean
if I'm not
Trey
mistaken,
Triforia wasn't doing it for everybody?
no, you mean the uh, Ryan Steele from VR Troopers, who was
Yeah.
the voice actor of Trey of Triforia,
Right.
and so like the it should have been Billy,
It should have.
and if anyone knows the history behind all that, um, it's a shame that he wasn't.
I mean, he's the one that should
And
have created the turbo powers as well. Like, there's a lot of like BS they did Cranston wrong kind of stuff that went
everyone,
on.
yeah, that's the thing. Like if you know the series and you know what happened in the early '90s, they did Cranston wrong. They did David Yost wrong,
Yep.
and which is why Cosmic Fury made this list for me is to have
The redemption,
Billy
man.
Cranston. Yeah,
Well, because
yeah,
you have to
and
imagine
Sydney.
none of the OG people that were cruel to him back in the day are there anymore. Thankfully.
Thankfully, and I do know that there have been some public apologies.
As
Um,
well, there should be.
oh yeah, and I agree with that. Um, but it was like I was disheartened to see how they treated Billy. Billy should have had more. I remember as a kid seeing Billy's abrupt departure,
Yeah.
and even then feeling this feels off.
Agreed.
And so, but the reason Zio made this list was because of the market left on the franchise,
Yeah.
um, the what they were trying to do in greater storytelling prospects, and I don't want to forget what they actually did to Billy Cranston.
Yeah.
And so it deserves to like it doesn't deserve to be praised how they treated him,
Right.
but it should be remembered to know that we don't do that again.
Oh yeah, for sure. And you can see that they're taking strides. They're going in the right
Oh
direction with
yeah.
the series.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully, it seems like they are with some of the choices that they've made with like Cosmic Fury and Dino and
Hmm.
whatnot.
Oh yeah.
So after Zeo, this is one of my favorites. Your number two. What's your number two, Ben?
Oh yeah, dude. In space. In
Oh yes,
space.
in space. The cap
Oh yes.
off quote unquote of the Zordon era. We have to put
Oh
those
now
quotes because of weird continuity stuff.
it's a thing. So I tell you what, though, I know how much you love this one, and I've been
I do.
rambling. So why don't you go into in space for a little bit, bud?
Okay, so talking about Power Rangers in space. Now, this is your number two, but one of the reasons that this is
Yeah.
such an amazing season was because this was supposed to be the end. They were wrapping up all of the story plots and adding some amazing new ones that they had never done before. You have Andros. We got an alien ranger. He's able to move things with his mind. He's been a ranger for a while, so this is the first time that we're really getting the ranger that's already been doing it before the series even started. I mean, we had the Phantom Ranger and the Centurion, but those are kind of different in my opinion. So it was really cool to see something like that with him. But you also had us like, oh, he lost his sister. This is like a really interesting theme, finding out that the main villain for most of the series was his sister all along. You have the best to this day evil rangers to this day. Sorry, all of the other seasons that have done evil rangers, you cannot beat the Psycho Rangers. The Psycho Rangers are awesome. They really were just some of the coolest things. Like I said, it's got a great ending. It's a great cap off to the Zordon era. It's got an amazing team that took one that a lot of people weren't thrilled about with Turbo and really brought them into their own, because in Turbo, they were just the replacements. It was the Tommy's not here anymore. This isn't as fun. They really, I felt they came into their own more in space than they did in Turbo, where they were just the replacements, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yes. You nailed it. Like in space, when you see Astronema, it is literally the like beta version of oh no, she's hot.
I'm here for the
And
wigs.
yeah, like Astronema Corone was intense. The Psycho Rangers actually made you worried for the Rangers. Um, Seeing the first Silver Ranger make an appearance and absolutely, I mean, crush it.
Oh yeah, and he had
Um,
a cool story as well. Like he was like frozen on ice, not knowing if he was gonna live. Like you
Yeah,
know?
like, he was on life support, and then his life support failed,
Yeah.
like,
And that's
came
what's
to.
so crazy because you not only have Andros losing his sister, but he also lost his best friend that is on life support there. There's just so many heavy themes with Andros when you really look into him, which I've met his actor multiple times. I even worked with him on a
Yeah.
project in the past. Really cool guy. Really, really cool guy. So yeah, space easily
Mhm.
Ninja Turtles episode aside, one of the best seasons. They can't all be bangers. They can't all be bangers, guys.
Hey, don't be hating on Venus de Milo. What are you doing?
Oh god,
Um,
they were trying to
but
make
nah,
every type of Sentai they could back then.
well, Power Rangers opened the gate, man.
Mhm.
But but nah, dude. Like, I mean, would we go as so far to say that Power Rangers Ninja Turtles crossover there was what laid the seed for the awesome crossovers we're seeing in the comics now with Ninja Turtles?
I feel like that they did them in the comics specifically because they felt they had to make that like fix that mistake. I feel like they were like, no, we got to do it right this time, guys. Like I feel like there's such a big part of it that it was pushed for that it might not have happened else otherwise. Because if you go and you go like, hey, can we have a crossover with these? You might get a like, that doesn't make sense. They're not even in the same universe. Blah blah blah. Whatever.
Yeah.
But the fact that it had been done in the past wrong brings up such an opportunity of like a hey, we can fix it, guys. We have the technology. We can redo this.
And they've done, I think, 3 of them now? Yeah, they've done 3,
Yeah,
and
it's
it's
really
been
cool every time they
incredible
do it. Like I
every
still
time.
want a figure of Shredder with the green power coins so badly because it is such a cool
Dude,
suit.
Mutant Rangers, dude. The
Mhm.
Mutant Rangers.
Yeah,
That was yeah,
it is pretty
bar
great.
none. Looks so cool.
So moving on to your number one pick. This one might not be a surprise to many of you. What's your number one pick, Ben?
Oh, dude, the OG Mighty Morphin. Man, it's what started it all for me.
The OG. Now, do you
Yeah.
are you specifically saying season 1 or just all 3 seasons together?
All 3 seasons together.
Okay. Okay. That's
And,
fair. That's fair.
it is because all 3 seasons, like season 1 was an introduction. You got to see how they got their powers, how they
Yeah.
started. You got to see um, Tommy come in as a new kid on the block. You got to see Tommy come into his own.
Oh yeah, Green with Evil
Um,
still one of the best like lines of episodes that we've ever gotten in Power Rangers.
oh, dude, the guy who wrote those episodes was one of my teachers at Full Sail, and
Nice.
he was great. Like he would be like probably one of the hardest classes I took there, but I was like, "You're my hero," and then like a week later, I'm like, "You're the hardest teacher I have. This isn't fun."
You're so much nicer to your teachers with that type of stuff. I had ones that would like one of the guys worked on like Harry Potter doing like the helmet, and
Yeah.
I gave him shit the whole time. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
Oh, dude.
though my
I'm
teacher that did special effects on the Expendables, I only brought up the Hallmark movies that he worked on because I thought it was funny.
That is great.
Yeah,
I like like he was an awesome professor. The class I did was comic book writing.
yeah,
The only thing
that's
that
pretty
made it so
cool.
hard was yeah, it was cool. The only thing that made it so hard was he was the only professor who because I did it online while working full time, and his lectures were mandatory attendance mandatory
Mm-hmm.
when everyone in the class was working adults, and if you missed the lecture, like the other professors would record them for you because they understood.
Right?
Um, yeah, he made it hard. But back to Mighty Morphin,
Yeah,
um, like it was like it established this idea of cheap, cheesy superheroes
yeah.
and merchandising opportunities. And I'll never forget the Christmas I had of '94 when I walked into the living room where our Christmas tree was, and our entire living room was filled to almost top to bottom with packages
Yeah.
and every bit of it was Power. I had ended up getting the Power Rangers like Play-Doh dry clay kit where
Yeah,
you make
I
your own
feel ya.
putties. You know
Yeah,
what I'm talking about?
I
I
do.
had
I
a power
do.
like the Power Rangers tent.
Yeah.
Had a tent.
I
Had
think I
a
might have had the
got
tent as well, actually.
like they went so hard on all the merchandising.
Oh, so
Um,
hard. I know I had the sleeping bag.
I did too.
Definitely,
I
definitely
had the
had the sleeping bag.
full bed set.
Yep. I had
We
I had Saba, I had a Saba, I had the Falcon
had
Zord. Yeah, I had to have all
had
of that
Saba as
stuff.
well.
Yeah.
Yep,
I had the
the
I had the gloves. Do you remember the gloves that
I
made
did too.
noises when you
I
when
did.
you punched them and
Yes, I
stuff?
had. Yeah, like you had the button right
Yep,
here,
yep,
and you had to
exactly.
push the button to do the chop. Yes,
Yep.
and it made the the
Ah,
swiping. Yeah,
yeah.
I had those as well. Um, yeah, like between my mom and dad right now, as a 34-year-old man, I think we still have the complete set of the trading card game
Nice.
of Power Rangers. And it's intense. Like the merchandising, they went so hard on it. And as a kid, I was literally laying in a pile of Power Ranger toys.
Yeah.
And so it checked off all the boxes for me as a kid. And what I didn't realize it was actually doing was introducing me to what a fandom was.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, the storytelling was very, monster of the week.
Yeah.
But
That's
it
very
was
Toku. There's nothing wrong with it.
it is. It is. And it was this kids TV show that actors were making like yeah, ununionized $600 a week,
Ugh.
which
Yeah, we can get
I
into a
mean,
whole discussion about that another time.
another time for sure, that just absolutely explodes to be the number one TV show in the world.
Yeah.
Like
So,
how they hit that formula. And but going into the characters, into the characterization, they were all just genuinely trying to change the world where they were as teenagers.
yeah.
I
It
mean, I remember.
definitely established a lot of the tropes that we still see to this day. And it's so well recognized, it's referenced multiple times, even in the Sentai. Like if you go and watch Akiba Ranger, they reference it because they have the Mighty Morphin, but they wear like American flag belts instead. So they recognize
Yes,
game recognizes game. They know what's up. They know what's up.
right, and it was, but and that's what they did. Like it just established that, oh yeah, no, we're so good in our human lives that we're gonna go to a world peace summit because we've been selected to be part of it. We're going to clean up the entire town of all the trash. Like it was like they wanted to empower people to be that good,
Oh yeah.
and it was cool to see. And so, but yeah,
So that
Tommy forever.
is, yep, that is Ben's top 5 Power Ranger seasons. From the top, he had Cosmic Fury. Number
Hmm.
4, Dino Charge. Number
Hmm.
3, Zeo. Number 2, Power Rangers in Space. And then Mighty Morphin Power Rangers to cap it
Yeah.
off. His top 5. We'll try and get to mine
Mhm.
very, very soon. I would like to do a top 5 as well, but we don't have time for that this time. That's because we got to get into the next part where we are going to be talking about none other than Bakuagai Sentai Bunbunja.
It exists. It's a thing.
It does exist. All right, let's go ahead and gotta get the thing to come up for it. I have to hide all the other ones now from your and
Right.
then boom. There we go. Now we get to talk about Bakuagai Sentai Bunbunja. If I mispronounce that, hey, I don't speak Japanese, so get over it. Sorry. Not sorry. So we have watched the first 3 episodes of this. Before we get into any spoilers, I just want to take a few minutes to where we can discuss what our initial thoughts are. Should you go and watch this? Just an initial kind of here's what we're thinking, and then we'll do a little bit of spoilers here at the end. But starting off, Ben, you seem to be enjoying this maybe a wee bit more than I am. I'm enjoying it, but you're loving this thing so far. Can you give us like almost like a sales pitch of why you're loving this so much and why others might want to give this one a try?
If you don't want to see something that takes itself too seriously, watch it. If you're looking, it is great. It is great escapism if you suspend your, disbelief and all that stuff. It's outrageous. Some of the takes are just, oh, cool. Like it nails all the tropes of it nails all the tropes of silliness, of not taking itself too seriously. It's very tongue in cheek. It's
Yeah.
very tongue in cheek heavy. And I guess I've been in the realm of too much serious storytelling like recently.
Yeah.
And so just seeing this tongue in cheek and watching it actually like succeed on screen, like episode one was great. Like it was outrageous. The introduction to everything was just okay. And then episode two, it kept up with that trend, and episode three got really heavy even for me
Oh
with it.
yeah.
But yeah, we came out of King Ogre of yeah, we are kings and we run nations,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then going to oh yeah, anyone want curry and all kinds of spoiler free. That check it out. It's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
like I said. It's that's why I'm enjoying it is because it is knowing its follow up to King Ogre, which was a very dramatized Sentai series, very heavy, very weight of the world on their shoulders because they're leaders of people. To fighting the space mafia now. That
Or the
yeah,
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
So
like that. Yeah,
I
that's what.
definitely agree with you. This is a great one if you're not wanting something too heavy. You're wanting like your old school car ranger, or you're into something like Akaba Ranger like myself. My biggest complaint for this has been something it's just built into it. There's nothing they can do about it. Not really into car seasons that much. I will say they've been
Yeah.
having a lot of fun with their abilities though with the cars. It's been really funny, really kind of over the top and whatnot, and I
Mhm.
enjoy that side of it. I really do. I just am not a big car guy, but I will say I am loving this Red Ranger so far. I think he is awesome. He gives me kind of a Captain Marvelous or Ace from Kamen Rider Geats kind of vibes. He's been a ranger for a while. He's confident. I enjoy that in a Red Ranger, like we were talking about with Andros, a ranger that's been a
Yeah.
Red Ranger that's been a ranger for a while brings something different to the table than the fish out of water, just learning to be a ranger scenario that we've seen so many times. I mean, both are
Mhm.
good, but it's nice to see a change up of it every once in a while.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's and you can see it. And again, the Red Ranger is the only one with experience going into this. The Blue Ranger is right there with him as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Who's not done it as long as Red, but he has experience under his belt. And then when you get to follow the newbie as the Pink Ranger, and it's not just and the Pink Ranger isn't just some like helpless like love interest.
Mhm.
Like she's eager to do a job well, leave her mark,
She's very
and
ditzy and fun. I like that about
she
her.
is. She is, and that's it. I'm liking the vibe of it. To
Yeah.
borrow a phrase from you, I'm enjoying the vibe.
It is a good
Um,
vibe. It's definitely not
it
as
is.
heavy as something like King Oja was. Yeah, but it's still not as over the top goofy as something like Don Brothers was, which the design's not as big for me. So it's a good medium ground. If you like the car seasons, I think that this one is
Yeah.
good. Just to kind of like, I would say off of these first three episodes, if you were gonna give it like a S, A, B, C, D, F, what type of a rating would you give the first three?
For the first three, for the introduction, now for getting to show the powers, ignoring some of the awkward costume designs. Um, Between costume design, characterization by episode two, seeing how they all work together, and season three, just finally seeing the tongue in cheek how they're going to go with it. I would give it a it's not an A plus. It's not like a B plus, like an A.
Okay, okay.
Like I would give it an A.
And for
If
me,
that,
I'm a very different side of this. I am a
yeah,
very, very, very judgmental person. For me, it's getting a C plus
yeah,
right now.
yeah,
I and it is simply because we are still on the early parts of it. We are on the very early episodic sides of it. I'm gonna need to
absolutely.
see what the bigger plot is gonna be for this season because I do like something like King Oger. I like my Common Rider
Oh
Gates. I
yeah.
like these things with these bigger like stories and stuff. So the comedy season, it could be good, but there's a reason that I like Akiba Ranger so much. And that's because it's
Mhm,
short seasons. You're getting like 12 episodes. I'm not sure if this series that is
mhm.
just goofy, if I can handle 50 episodes of it. So I'm hoping that there's going to be a
Right.
deeper layer under this of, some type of like complexity or something that I can latch on to instead of just 50 episodes of the same kind of slapstick, humor.
Which I get. I get. Like you're rating it low to see if it'll get better, to give it the opportunity to
Exactly.
get better.
Because I don't
And
think
I
it's
think
ever going to hit an A for me. It's just not my kind of series, but I'm still going to watch it.
I
I'm
get that.
enjoying it.
I get that. I'm rating it an A based upon the 3 episodes alone.
Totally.
So my hope is that it will find what you're wanting it to look for, and that's me being hopeful for it. I want to see it. I want to see it hit that stride.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, then my rating will go down. And
Okay,
so it's
so with that, I think that that means that we can be moving on to the spoiler section of this. So if you are wanting to watch the first 3 episodes before having any of it spoiled for you, I know we're sad to see you go, but this is probably the part where you're going to want to leave us and then come back and watch it watch it later. Like, don't act like you can never come back and watch it. Come back and watch it once you have, so that way we
yeah.
can have a discussion about it. So, going into spoilers, we already know that from watching the intros and outros that we have 2 other Rangers that are coming up soon, with a
Mhm.
Black Ranger and an Orange Ranger.
Yes.
They look pretty cool. I like that, but I still hate the helmets, but they still look pretty cool. Only one shoulder pad.
Yeah. Yeah, each,
Yeah.
um, which is a set.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I'm anxious like I'm being able to in episode 3, being able to see what the Orange Ranger is about.
Yeah.
At the end of we seen it near the end of episode 2 and in episode 3. Um, Seeing how he comes into
Like a
his
repo man. I
ability.
like him. He's so far my favorite. I like the Red
Yeah,
Ranger's vibes so much because he does have that Captain Marvelish swag, which is totally my favorite type of Red Ranger most of the time.
yeah.
But the orange is going to be our mischievous one, it's feeling like, and I love that.
Yeah, he's not only mischievous, but he has like it hits that I can work alone if need
Maybe,
be.
yeah,
It you know what
exactly.
I'm saying? And that's cool. Like I'm liking that. Um, the poor guy who's going to become the Black Ranger, he has had a heck of a
That
time.
poor cop. I know.
He has.
Oh,
So like I'm anxious to see what they do with his story. I really want to see what they do if they actually send him in undercover, if they actually let him become like if he actually ends up leaving the police force or whatever and becomes a boonger whatever. I can't even pronounce it.
if he has to leave, we don't know that he has to leave. I mean, you look at something like you're a fan of like Common Rider 01. You know, there was the
Oh yeah.
cop that still kind of was a cop throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah.
you could have something like that. You can also have something like Pato Ranger, from Lupin Ranger v Pato
Mhm.
Ranger. So there's a chance that he could still be a cop while being a ranger. I don't know if they'll go that direction. It is a
Oh yeah.
possibility.
Oh yeah. Like episode 4 will answer a lot of that for
I think
me.
so. Yeah.
I really want to see. I want to see if they establish that that Boom Boonger is operating without like government approval,
I
and that will begin to develop the story more in the direction where it deserves that A. You
am.
know what I'm saying?
I could see
And
that.
it'll give more credence to what they're trying to do because they're not only they'd be the full vigilantes at that point.
So, what do you think about the
And
villains so far, though? What do you think of them? Because they've been mostly
I,
played up for comedic relief with just a little bit of mafia to them. I know that you're enjoying that quite a bit.
I'm enjoying how silly it is and how they don't feel like a threat.
Not yet.
Not yet. And it's because it's literally just 2 henchmen and a Roomba.
Yeah.
That's
Well, because
that's how it's going to play.
every time they're having like a big fight, every time they're having a big fight, you see the two like ones that we've seen, like they're 2 generals. I'm gonna call them generals because that's kind of how we typically think of them in Super Sentai. You have the 2 generals that
Mhm.
are watching the fights, like they're Magenta and Columbia from Rocky Horror Picture Show. Like I'm talking
Yeah.
like the feet kicking, like sitting there and watching it and everything. Like it's funny. It's funny,
Yeah,
but where's the threat? And that's why it gives me very Car Ranger vibes. Good. I don't know if you remember the whole reason in Car Ranger that they were trying to destroy the world, the villains, was because they were trying to impress the girl that was on their spaceship.
nice.
Yeah, so
Okay.
it's kind of got a goofy vibe with that. But if they go and dive later into this, into more of the mafia side of it, I think that it can redeem that part of it for me. But for right now,
Mhm.
it is just goofy generals being goofy generals, which isn't bad,
Yeah,
but I'm gonna want more at some point in this season.
right, and, like, we've referenced Zero One quite a bit, like, it's Jin in Zero One,
Yeah,
like, literally just creating machines out
yep,
of machines, like threats out of machines. And then him going nuts in the background laughing about it.
totally.
Um, and even then, like, in the early episodes of Zero One, like, we seen how it was just monster of the week, trying to build to a bigger plot point, and that's what I'm hoping we get here.
Yeah.
I'm holding my breath for them to really hit their stride with a major plot reveal, plot development that
Yeah.
says, yeah, we are working as vigilantes, and we are a mafia of our own right now because of what we're doing, and we're a mafia trying to stop another mafia,
Totally. Totally.
which would be interesting. Mafia versus mafia.
I'm
That would
down for
be
that. Mafia Wars. I'm here for
yeah,
that.
yeah. Like that would be
Super
Mafia
fun.
Wars in Power Rangers Mafia Wars. I'm all for it.
Yeah. If they
But
take it more in that direction, I'm down for it. It would add a layer to it, like I was talking about Lupin Ranger v Pato Ranger, where it was like the cops
yeah,
versus robbers kind of thing. Gives me a little bit
yeah,
of that kind of a vibe, which changing up the formula is not always a bad thing. But yeah, I do kind of get a vibe that the Red Rangers organization probably isn't completely clean. So that does
yeah.
bring up some interesting things. They're gonna be coming up because the guy's filthy rich, like filthy,
Oh
filthy
yeah,
rich, and there's
oh
probably
yeah,
something behind that. So I could see them definitely
oh
going
yeah.
into a mafia v mafia kind of thing.
Yeah, like if you've watched Hitman Reborn,
Yeah.
it like you see like the one who's like, oh yeah, we're playing mafia, we're doing this thing. Like you see that in the Pink Ranger.
Yeah, I
Um,
could definitely
like
get that vibe with her. She's going around and thinking that they're just playing baseball and stuff when they've really been
essentially,
destroying
yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
yeah, and then you have Goku Dara who ends up like committing himself to Suna, and Goku Dara is the Blue Ranger. Like
Yeah, because the
he's
Blue Ranger is playing is our straight man. So we
he
we
is.
we have a very two kind of goofies. You have the very confident but goofy Red Ranger, the very
Hmm.
ditzy and goofy Pink, but then the Blue Ranger is he's the straight man to them, which it's a
He is.
good combo. Even if he is doing the I don't think you're good enough to be here yet. By the end of the episode, you have to prove it to me. You
Yeah,
know,
and it's yeah, which is
it's a
trope.
trope.
But they delivered it. They delivered it in a unique way without him having saying that that she earned his respect, and it was good. Like it was like it's an interesting take on it all, and
Love it.
I'm like so a lot of my rating and a lot of my belief in the series is in the hope of what they're going to deliver.
Mhm.
Um, I'm usually disappointed,
Fair.
but I'm ready to be heard again.
Ready to be heard again. All right. So I feel like that's a good place to end our review of the first three episodes of Boom Boonger. If you guys enjoyed us talking about this, let us know wherever you end up watching this at. So that way we'll know, yes, you want us to keep talking about it. Do you want these to be every other week? Do you want us to do it in like chunks, maybe every 5 episodes or so, something like that? Let us know how often you'd like to get videos on this. And thank you everyone for watching the very first
Mhm.
episode of Make Our Podcast Grow. And if you're wondering how to make our podcast grow, well, that is by liking, sharing, subscribing,
Mhm.
following whatever you're doing on whatever platform you're watching this on. We will be trying to put it as many places as we can. This is something that we will be recording every other week, but then splitting them into smaller episodes for YouTube and putting up on podcasting platforms. But yeah, Ben, how do you feel about our first episode of Make Our Podcast Grow?
I think it was a lot of fun, dude. I really want to do this again. I
Yeah, for
really
sure.
want to dive into more of this stuff. Sorry if I ranted and rambled too much.
No, you're good. You're good. We're right on time for what we were looking for.
And so it was a lot of fun, dude. Thank you for having me in with this. It's
Of
so
course,
much
of
fun.
course. All right. Well, with that, we will sign off and